I also want to show you something else regarding the event tick. So you might notice that there's this little green delta seconds um, output pin. And that's green, which denotes that it's a float. If you hover over it, it will say that it's a float. And what delta seconds is that it checks the time between each frame. So when we play, if you see on my little frame rate here, so I've got mine locked at 60 frames per second, and that means that between every frame, there's 16.67 milliseconds passing. Now I'm gonna explain to you why it's important that we sort of know this. So if I've created a little thing here where we're gonna add 1 to our health every tick, and you will see if I compile and play this. If you pay attention up here, you're gonna see a number. So that's our health, and it's going up. And you can see it's going up very fast because we're just adding 1, but we're doing it every single tick. We're doing it every 16.67 milliseconds, the time between each of these 60 frames. You'll notice, if you just let me pull up a calculator here, if I take 1, which is 1 second, and I divide this by 60, you'll get 0.166666, which is this 16.67 milliseconds. That's what that is. Similarly, if I cancel, and if I do 1 divided by 120, we'll get 0.0083333333, which will be 8.3 milliseconds, I believe. So if I come in here and I change my frame rate up to 120 and start playing, you will see 8.33. So that's what that number is. So you may not have noticed, but when I changed my frame rate, that started up going really quickly. So if you try pay attention to how fast that's moving currently, and I'm going to change the frame rate down, and I'm going to change it to 15 frames per second, which is very low. You wouldn't really play a game like this. But if I press play now, watch what the number does. You can see it's still ticking up, but it's doing it significantly slower than it did at 120 frames per second. I'm just going to change it back up to 120 just so that you can see again just how fast it was going before. Oh, 20. You can see now we're going up by like 100 every second or so, which is significantly faster. It's really important that we utilize these delta seconds when we're doing things like if we're adding values onto something, because if you depending on the hardware that you're running your game on, if you're running it on a weak or a powerful PC, your game's functions may slow or speed up over time, because you've got to think as well that not every game and not every computer is going to run it at a consistent frame rate. It will always run at a solid 60. You may have frame drops, and you don't want it to be a case of you're running at a certain speed and then you get like a dip in your frames, or you get an increase in your frames and you start slowing down or speeding up rapidly. So what we can do is we can do a little calculation. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on my delta seconds, and I'm going to promote this to variable, and I'm just going to leave that called delta seconds, and I'm going to leave that plugged in, and this should be the very first thing in our event tick. Now I'm just going to plug this into this little system here, but what you could do if you want your event tick to do multiple things is you can use something called sequence node, and you can have this sort of separate and do multiple functions. You can add these pins here and have it do a bunch of stuff. But for this demonstration, I'm just going to keep this like this. So rather than doing our health plus 1, what we're going to do is we're going to take this delta seconds value and we're going to multiply this by however much we want our health to increase by per second. So right now I'm timesing the delta seconds by 1, and then I'm adding that to our player health. So what this means is that this is going to increase by 1 every single second. You could also promote this to variable and, you know, have a variable that determines how much your health's going to increase by. But for now, I'm going to just leave this at 1. And if I compile, and what am I running at? I'm running at 120. So pay attention to the number in the top corner. So we're now increasing by 1 every single real world second. And then if I pause this, or sorry, if I stop this, and I limit this back down to 15 frames per second and play it, we're increasing by 1 every single second. Doing this small little delta seconds calculation will make it so that no matter what frame rate your game is running at, your health will always increase at a steady rate. This is really good if you're doing like a health bar and you want it where maybe when you're outside of combat your health regenerates slowly or something like that. Or like I say, you could have it tied to your character's speed. I'm going to change this. I'm going to increase it up to 10, so it'll speed it up. But you'll see now it's increasing by 10 every second, but it's not doing it in like chunks of 10. It's smoothly increasing. If you remember to a previous tutorial where I showed you a health bar, like a sliding progress bar, this is how we would increase and decrease the health over time. Doing it this way is just a lot more clean, it's a lot more performant, and it's just a lot better. So multiplying your values by delta time and also using either this do once little loop that I've made or doing a custom timer is 1,000,000 times better than checking every single frame whether or not we're doing something. I hope that was somewhat clear. It's a bit of a complicated topic, so don't worry if you don't if that didn't fully sink in. It is a very sort of advanced topic to be learning about at college level. But if you have any questions, you can always send me a message or come speak to me in person if you're a student. But yeah, that's the end of this video. I hope that helped.